Hello and welcome to the United Stand. You're all very welcome on this Saturday night. First of all, I just want to say for those who are watching live, I appreciate I'm 6 minutes late. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it tonight personally. The dark cloud is hanging over, and I don't feel particularly good. But hopefully you will lift my moods, because there's no particular reason for it. I just get it sometimes, as I've discussed in the past, and I don't know. Tuesday's always a tough day, isn't it? Really, I don't know. Just feel a bit. Anyway, let's crack on. Hopefully the velvet tones of Rodney will lift my mood. And I want to start off anyway, there's always a bit of news. Gareth Bale is the player that Jose Mourinho wants, not Perisic. And this rumour is sort of built up this afternoon around the fact that apparently Nemanja Matic was... Chelsea didn't want to sell Matic. They certainly didn't want to sell him to Manchester United. They wanted to sell him to Juventus. Bit similar to Van Persie with Arsenal, but obviously Matic isn't Van Persie, but I think hopefully he'll be a good signing. But Matic was basically threatening not to train, which he didn't. He didn't go on the tour, and he was going to go public if they didn't sell him. And now this is the rumour. Now whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it's interesting because he didn't go on the tour. That's one thing. And why would Chelsea want to sell Matic to Manchester United? So the story goes that Manchester United want Gareth Bale to do the same. They want Gareth Bale to declare his interest in Manchester United and to stop training. Well, he's already, I can tell you it's breaking news, he's already achieved one of those things already. And that was that he's not training with Real Madrid anymore. Because he's injured again. He's injured again. Look, I like Gareth Bale, but he's going to cost a lot of money. He's going to cost a lot of money. Probably 80 or 90 million. And the Premier League is far more physical and demanding than the La Liga is. So then that injuries, which I've never said is a problem, if we got Bale it'd be great, does become more of a factor. I just want Perisic now, to be honest. I said this, I think I said it last night, didn't I? That Matic... We've spent 40 million on Matic effectively. Hopefully we have, because it's 35 million plus 5 million in add-ons. So them add-ons are really based around Manchester United being successful. So I want us to pay the 5 million. I want us to pay the 40 million. So if we played 40 million for Matic at 29, happy birthday, he's 29 today, just pay the 8 million out on top of that for Perisic. Perisic is an attacker. They're always more expensive than a defensive midfielder. He's a year younger. He ticks every single box that we need in relation to being two-footed, so he can play either wing. He is skillful, he is fast, he is hard-working, and he's tall. Somebody said to me today on Twitter, I've got to pick up on this, they said, why do you always make out, why are you saying that Perisic being tall is an advantage? Why is Perisic being tall good? Surely a winger who's 5'7" is better because they're quicker. Well no, he's already quick. The advantage of having a tall winger is you're better off having a 6'2" winger than you are a 5'7" winger. If they've got all the attributes of the person who's 5'7" anyway, i.e. they're skillful, they're quick, they're two-footed, then being 6'2" or 6 foot, I think Perisic is just another big advantage, because it means they're actually a threat in the air, and when they're defending corners like wingers always do, he's tall. So yeah, I'll be happy with that. Dwayne Ellis says we still need 2 more players. Aurier is still predicted to come to Manchester United. I'm not too sure about that one. I would welcome him, but I just don't know about the source of the story and whether it's actually true. And the court case sort of worries me a bit. But for £25 million, it'd be a decent signing. But I never thought I'd do this, and I don't know what people at home think, but I'm starting to lean towards preferring Perisic over Bale, because I think Bale comes with a massive price tag and concerns about what his actual desire for a move to Manchester United is. Is it because he can't get his place in Real Madrid team anymore? Are we going to have him playing here, there and everywhere because he's not going to be fit to play all the games? Whereas I think Perisic, you will get a consistent performer. This has been the summer for Manchester United where we've made consistent signings, so why not? Why not do that? And as Vivav Samaga says, you know, Bale's injured again. I would, you know, I'd be very excited by Bale, but I think I'd just be very excited by Perisic. And as Els Horton says, so would he. So we shall wait and see. I do want to cover the Sampdoria game tomorrow. Somebody just asked about that. I haven't done a preview. It doesn't really matter. It's pre-season. It's only pre-season. But we will do the watch-along. We'll do a watch-along for Sampdoria. But I've not heard Jose say anything about it. So I don't really want to start making team predictions and things like that on the Sampdoria game. Gungshi says that Bale is clearly the better player. He is, but A. Walker follows it up with the fact that he is, and he is, always injured. And that that is a concern, a real concern as we go forward. So we'll see what happens. I still have my optimism around people like Renato Sanchez and Ross Barkley. They are available, and I do feel that we do need another midfielder. However, I've got to be honest, we also need to make sure that Pereira plays. I saw a fantastic picture with Pereira, Lukaku and Pogba today in training, as was Matic. And it filled me with a lot of confidence, thinking, you know, he is training with the first team and he looks like a fantastic player. Where should Mkhitaryan play this season? Says 6 reactions. I think it's got to be number 10, everyone, hasn't it? I think as a winger, he's never really settled. He's never really had an influence on a game like he can do. But his best times in a Manchester United shirt have been in a number 10 position, and I think that is the position that I would go with. So yeah, I would like to do that. We'll see what happens though in relation to Mkhitaryan this season. Michael Catton says he would like Perisic, as would Sheldon. I'd be very excited by Perisic. I think, as I said before, this is the signing that will make us sort of complete the summer in a way. It is a bit of a grafting summer. It's a bit of a fill, you know, add some depth to the squad without it being a marquee signing. So yeah, I'd be quite happy with that. No Barkley, says Rohit, because we've got Mickey. Rodney, are you there?
I'm here, sir. I'm here. I'm just listening to you.
No worries.
Changing your velvet tongues.
It's all right. It's just it says I'm calling you still, so I didn't know that you were there. Yeah.
No,
how are you doing?
I'm not too bad. I know what you mean on a Tuesday. Sometimes there is a dark cloud, and you just kind of think, can I be bothered? But when it comes to the United stand, you have to say yes, really.
Exactly. That was my feeling tonight. And look, you know, if you do, I think everybody suffers from a certain level of depression, and the biggest thing, Stan Collymore, you know, we were talking off air the other day. Rodney actually found the United stand through Stan Collymore, which is interesting for a Manchester United fan. But Stan's obviously very open about his depression, and I'm not saying I'm on that level or anything like that, but I think everybody suffers from a certain level of it, and the biggest thing is to be open about it. And you know what, I was setting up and I had a couple of things going wrong, and I was like, oh. But the top of the mountain was to get live and get amongst the United stand and get, you know, enjoy what we discuss. So Rodney, we don't normally open up the show like this, but anything, you know, we've not spoken in a week. Matic has signed. We're linked to Aurier, Bale or Perisic, Sampdoria tomorrow, week and a half off the start of the league.
All is well in the world, considering the last time we spoke, it didn't seem as if we could sign anyone. I'm happy with the Matic deal, to be fair. I think he fills a slot in a puzzle which many of us would find difficult to complete, because we've got players who are playing at a position. And I think Mourinho, as I said, and I remember him saying he wants specialists, and I think Matic is a specialist for that centre midfielder who would sit in front of the back 4 or 3 and give them protection.
Yeah, I didn't want Matic. I'll always be honest about that. But now he's signed, as I said last night, I'm actually quite happy with it, because the drama of who the centre defence. I think I was getting to the point that beyond the drama of who it was going to be, are we actually going to sign one? So the fact that we've got one now, logically, my logic is based on the Europa League final where we played Fellaini, Herrera, Pogba. That to me now means it's got to be Matic, Herrera, Pogba, which means less Fellaini in the midfield, which is a big positive.
Well, to be honest, I know that and I think I mentioned to you before about, you know, when we buy players from other clubs and they say, oh, it's a rival club, or we sell players. If you're a top footballing club, it doesn't matter who you sell to or who you buy from, they're a rival. Whether they're in this country or whether they're in the Champions League in another country, they're a rival. And I know that and this is the bias that people have, and I have bias. I mean, I'll always say I don't like Fellaini, but he wears a United shirt. I wish we'd never bought him, but he wears a United shirt. So I can understand when you say you never wanted Matic to join from Chelsea, because that's, on a personal level, that's your decision. Me, I never had the same feeling against him as I did for Fellaini, and I probably will still want Fellaini to be gone from United, but he's still there. So Matic's joining Man United. I mean, it seems like he wanted to join.
Yeah.
He refused to train, which for me is something that I said when we were linked to Morata. We didn't hear any of these things. We didn't hear them.
And I think we were speaking about this a few weeks ago. I do feel that the way that Morata and Perisic have dragged on, I just feel that if what Matic has done is true, and I would believe it, because Chelsea wouldn't want to sell him to us. And it reminds me of what Van Persie did, really. You force the move that you want, and it sounds like Matic has done that. And I think Morata had to do that if he wanted to come. I think Perisic shouldn't have got on that plane to China with Inter. I think he should have, Matic didn't go on the tour with Chelsea. I'm pretty sure that's the truth. He didn't go. Him and Costa didn't go. So, players can still force these moves. And, fair play to him if he does. He sounds like he's passionate about playing for United, and that's not always evident in every signing you get now.
No, it isn't. It isn't at all. What I will say is this: when Mourinho had a bad time at Chelsea, there was this narrative about him throwing Matic under the bus, and Matic was brought on and then subbed off. And if he has left Chelsea to join Manchester United and be with Mourinho, it says a lot about Mourinho as a man and as a manager of players. If a player is prepared to say, I'm not staying with this club, I want to go and be with the manager that I was with before. And it says a lot about their current manager.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It is very interesting because let me just do something there. That works both ways. I don't know whether people can remember that, but Matic was balled out by Mourinho in that final season. And it shows, one, Matic wanting to come to United shows the respect he's got for Mourinho, but also it shows Mourinho that, he really obviously does like Matic. But what I'm going to do tonight is, because a lot of people always ask this when you've got Rodney on, we don't get to ask him enough questions. So please do fire your questions in, and we'll chuck them at Rodney. I want to pick up on Dan Miola's comment, because he comes on the Skype show a lot, and I just want to bring that in and throw it to Rodney as well. Remember to drop a like. Rodney always gets 2,000 likes, so there you go.
I'll add one now.
Okay, so what Dan Miola said, and people at home might agree with this. He said, I wish people would stop linking us to Gareth Bale. If he'd come 4 years ago, fair enough, but I don't want him. Forget about him. The rumour is that Mourinho wants Bale ahead of Perisic, and similarly to Matic, they want Bale to force the move. And apparently Real Madrid, Bale doesn't have many friends, and they'd be quite willing to get rid of him. Do you see anything in this at all, Rodney? And would you welcome it?
Right, there's so many levels to that question. I'll answer what I think I can. First, from my own position, I'm tired of Man United being linked to Real Madrid players. I'm tired. I as a club, I would want nothing to do with them. I wouldn't even want to buy a stamp off of them. But if Gareth Bale wants to come to United, if Mourinho wants Gareth Bale instead of Perisic, then obviously I'm going to support the manager. But I think what we've seen in the past few weeks in terms of transfer speculation, we as Man United fans, we linked our club with every possible player across Europe where we think that they would do well and fit into the team or improve the squad. We've been nowhere near the mark. We didn't see Lukaku coming. We didn't see the Matic deal coming, even though there were possible rumours. And if the suggestion with the Aurier is correct and he's coming, we were linked with everyone in Monaco, the Monaco team. So in terms of the Gareth Bale coming to Manchester United and Mourinho does want him, is that a smokescreen? Is it something to throw up at Real Madrid again and say, we're really after one of your players, we really, really are, and then we go somewhere else and upset someone else? Because I can see that happening.
I hope so. I do agree with you about Real Madrid. Shubik says Matic will give his 110% as he wanted the transfer to Manchester United. He was not Mourinho's first choice though, but he's already building a rapport with the team. Thanks for the contribution there. Just quickly on Aurier, because a few people are asking what does Rodney think about Serge Aurier. I don't know whether you know much about him, Rodney, but he is a right back.
I've watched some of the games that I've watched on a particular channel, and I've seen him play. And do you know what? The players linked to us, but also then they say he's got a dodgy temperament. And I thought, what does that actually mean? That he's got a strong opinion, that he's a maverick, that he doesn't listen. What does that mean, a dodgy temperament in terms of football? When I've watched him play as a footballing right back, he's strong in the tackle and he's aggressive in his play. He doesn't allow any of the players that he's marking any time on the ball, and he always assists in his teams, whether it's for club or country, in an attacking presence. He goes forward and he looks for the quick give and go and he finds his man. Now, if they say to me he's got a dodgy temperament, is it because he upset someone in the dressing room? As he said something to the manager? I've looked at his positional play, and watching his tackles, it reminds me of watching Bale tackle. It doesn't give anyone an inch. So in terms of if we are linked with him, as you know the papers say, and he does arrive, I would see him being another addition to a back four that already looks like it's not going to give away many goals anyway.
Ivorian Coast, like Bay as well.
Yeah.
Daniel has said, it's true, Mark. He didn't go on tour. He trained alone with a personal trainer and wanted to join. Because he didn't agree with Mourinho sacking from Chelsea, talking about Matic there. We've had a contribution here, but it's a contribution that's a direct question to you, Rodney. Let me get it. It's whizzed on by, which is always the question. Here we go. It's from Josh RC. He says, Rodney's thoughts on 3-5-2. Should we play it? Will we play it? Do you like it?
3-5-2 as a formation is always one when you think that you're either weak in midfield or you have a team that is abundantly attacking in their natural kind of thinking in terms of... I mean, in my limited footballing career as a Saturday or Sunday league player, when we played 3-5-2, there were more attacking midfielders than there were defensive ones. So you'd pack the midfield. And then you'd actually be able to defend if you were being attacked, but also to flood forward. If Man United use that formation, it means that they are looking to be more attacking and more aggressive, but they're also concerned about the opposition. I'm not necessarily saying I'm against it or for it. I think that if you are playing football at that level, you need to be adaptable. So the manager can say at any point in time, we're going to move from either a 4-3-3 to a 3-5-2 to a 4-4-2. I think footballers spend enough time training to be able to move into positions and understand their job. That's what I think. So I'm not against it.
Amari Beckford says, first day on the live chat, welcome pal. He says Matic is better than you think. I hope he is. I think he will be a good sign. I can't wait. I don't think he'll play tomorrow, but it'll be interesting to see if he plays in the Super Cup. But yeah, going back to what Rodney was saying there, it's very true. I think I said it a couple of times on the watch along last season that United shouldn't be confined to one formation. The players should be able to adapt to different situations. We certainly did it against Leicester away last season. But what I like about the 3-5-2, and I'll throw it back at you with another question, because somebody did, I think it was Rush Spritz said, if we play the three at the back, where is Mickey going to play? So I'll throw that back in a second. But what I would just say is what I said last night. 3-5-2 feels like it's cheating to me, because it's like we get an extra player, because you get your fullbacks who are basically your wingers, you get 3 in the midfield, and you get 2 up front, which for me, I would play Mkhitaryan off the forward, or I'd play Martial off the forward. A midfield 3 would be Pogba, Herrera and Matic now. You've got Valencia on one side. I think Perisic could play the left wing back role, and then you've got a back 3. That's my team. And I think you've got to. I think you're right. We can't play it every week, but I think away from home that'd be a good formation.
I mean, again, I would agree with you, apart from the Mkhitaryan one. I do like him as a player, but sometimes I think he isn't cute enough on the ball. The player that is cute on the ball but doesn't necessarily have as much pace is Mata, and I think that's Mata's ideal position, and we've never really played him there. We've stuck him out on the wing, where he always comes back in on his left side to cross the ball or pass the ball. And I honestly believe if he played behind a striker in front of a midfield that was, where he didn't have to worry about defending, we'd probably see the best of him. So in terms of that formation, I would either kind of like let Mkhitaryan start, but always Mata would be kind of in my mind to say, well, if that doesn't work, he would fit into that position.
I would agree. Don't forget about Juan Mata. I think he's a very consistent player. And, you know, let's not forget last season. His season should have been over when he got that groin injury and he was back before Jones and Smalling. He's a fantastic club player to have, and I think he'd be very important. Lynn says we need Perisic to play the 3-5-2. Mark, do you think Jose will still play boring football next week after his comments about a typical Jose signing? And Tugwell Unruly says 3-5-2 does not fit our players. Gary Wells says...
I would probably agree about that. It doesn't fit because you to play that position in that formation, you need centre backs or your back three to be really comfortable on the ball, and you know, forbid anything happening to Bay, and you've got to rely on Johns and Smalling bringing the ball out. Then you can't play 3-5-2 with them. I wouldn't feel comfortable with them passing the ball 5 or 10 yards, let alone anything else.
I'm enjoying this, throwing the questions at Rodney while I read the live comments. There's a funny comment here. Simon Grabowski's just said, just subscribed at Jake Call. At Jake Call. Hope your mum is happy now. So subscribe to please Jake Call's mum.
Okay.
Steve Horseman, if Aurier signs, we've reached the 25 player limit. Darmian and Young should then go to make room for Perisic. And then Zlatan at Christmas. I saw a video of Zlatan. I don't know how accurate it is. I saw a video of Zlatan today juggling the ball and hopping around, which is stunning when we were on the first day of August. And I don't know, it's a long... I touch wood. Well, it won't matter to me now. But as a footballer, I was very lucky in relation to injuries. I never had anything like that. And I think the worst I ever had was twisted ankles and shin splints. I never did my knee. I never did my hamstring. So I don't know the recuperation of a knee.
I've done both. I did my ligaments in both my left and my right.
So should he be kicking the ball and be back at Christmas, or do you think he'll be back sooner?
I mean, if he's doing his rehab every day, day in, day out, he could be back sooner. But then it's all about mind over matter, in a sense. It's
Which
about...
you win.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it's the mark and the measure of the man. But it's... when you go... The first tackle you take... You're thinking about, can my knee survive, or you misjudge a ball, or you overstretch and you put strain on the knee joint, and you know, any of those things will be in your mind as an ordinary person might have, like myself. But it looks like his rehab is, apart from being online, also say where it should be, it's accelerated. So he might be back before Christmas. But it would be foolish to actually want him to be playing any competitive football before January. Really, I'd say give him time.
Yeah, and to be honest, I would welcome. I'll ask you this question in a minute about Zlatan, but SGS has contributed. He says, "Are we buying Aurier to play Valencia as a right winger?" I think that's a bit like Daley Blind as a centre defensive midfielder. I think it gets mentioned a lot, but I don't think it'll happen. Forest Dweller says, first time listening for a while. He's in Cape Town. Hello, pal. Everybody's off to the game tomorrow. Sampdoria in Dublin. All I can do is apologise. I was meant to be over there. My town. Dublin's my Dublin made me. I know it like the back of my hand. And I was meant to be going and I can't go. So the positive is I'll be doing a watch along. We'll be live from 6:45 right the way through till full time. But have a great time if you're going. I'm really gutted not to be going. I can't even get myself 4 cans of Guinness in because it'll just make me feel sad. I'm just hoping next year they'll do it again, because to miss that opportunity to go back and watch them was just very... That's probably why I'm in a bad mood, actually. I knew this would happen. Yeah, Zlatan back, Rodney, just very quickly. It's looking likely. We are sure. I said last week that if we actually did play Martial on the left, Rashford on the right, Lukaku up front, we don't have a striker in the whole team as a bet on the bench. So Zlatan would be quite welcome, but my concern is, will we go back to playing him every week, or would he be happy to be a bit part player? If it's the latter, then it's great.
I think Zlatan will understand the position of the team. He will understand that the team, in terms of progress, have moved on, and it would be his decision to be a bit part player. I don't think Mourinho would have to tell him that he's going to be a bit part player. I think him watching the team develop from the start of the season until whenever he returns, he will realise that he's not going to be first choice. And I've got every confidence that Lukaku will score goals, and that in itself will kind of make Zlatan realise, in terms of his movement and ability, that no one questions his ability, but his movement was always hindering us in terms of going forward.
Yeah.
So
he's not quick
he
enough
knows
for the
that.
Premier League, is he?
Not.
To be
I mean,
blunt.
yeah, maybe, no, he isn't. But the thing is, if he'd have left PSG probably 3 years sooner than he did, he would have been fine with us, you know. But you know, those things you can look back on and talk in reflection about what should have been or what could have been. But I think again, he's another player that doesn't want to go off to America and get a big payday. He wants to be a part of what Mourinho is creating, which is why he'll be prepared to wait, which you probably won't see many players do. It's a mark of the manager.
I was talking about this last night. I said that Lukaku brings more to the team than Zlatan, and it got a lot of people commenting last night on last night's video saying you're mad. Look, Zlatan is a better player than Lukaku. Of that, there is no doubt. You know, Zlatan is one of the world's best strikers in the last 20 years. What I mean is that Lukaku suits Manchester United better now than Zlatan, even though Zlatan's the best player, because he gives that. It's like that goal we scored. Was it against City? The ball over the top? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That's that goal. You may as well forget. You know, whoever laid the assist on, I forget who it was. They may as well play a five-yard pass to Fellaini at the side of them, because that ball's a waste of time with Zlatan. And in the Premier League, that ball it's not even an out ball. It's a threat ball over the top, and Lukaku spun, and they've got to be very fast and very powerful to get there before him. And that's a whole new dimension to our game. I think as an attacking side now, we had a lot of flair, but it was wasted flair because Zlatan was the pinnacle of the team. Now you've got pace and pushing that defence back with Lukaku. Your flair players behind could, if they're on form, Mkhitaryan, Martial, Rashford, even Lingard, Pogba, Pereira, Herrera, they can have a field day. So I'm very excited about the start of the season. I think West Ham's going to be a tough game though, but that's for another game.
No, oh gosh, yeah. I mean, you know, with the Zlatan thing, when you look back at his time at PSG, he was very prolific when he played alongside another striker who would do all of the movement for him. And on reflection, Zlatan didn't have that with us last year. He didn't have anyone that actually took players away from him and gave him the extra time and space that he was afforded in France. With Lukaku, if he does return after Christmas, and he does play with Lukaku, he'd still score goals. It's just that he's an additional threat in terms of as a striker for us against opposition. So I can see why he would stay, and I can see why the manager would want him to stay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I could give him a coaching role, maybe. Let's have looking for another good question.
Give us a coaching role.
Cracking questions, says Carl Ford. I think he's talking about somebody else though, not us. Okay, this is a good one from Paul Robinson. If it's the same Paul Robinson, he sometimes comes on the Skype show, very good opinions. And he says, Rodney, what do you think are our 3 biggest issues for the season, and how can we fix them in your opinion? A very, very good question, that.
First one's left back. I think that's still an area that we need to be concerned about. I think the manager's probably concerned about it, but he hasn't said anything unless he's going to use Borthwick Jackson as a backup to Shaw, unless he's going to use Young as a backup, unless Rojo's recovery is quicker than we expect. I'm not sure about having Blind play at left back. His pace is always kind of suspect. His positional sense is great, but his pace is suspect. And that's one area. Again, in terms of the formation, if we play 3-5-2, we need a winger. If we play 4-4-2, we need a winger. Will we get Perisic? And if it's not Perisic, who will it be? Because we've been linked to him for so long. And I think us as Man United fans, we're so kind of, in tune with the Perisic thing, and the fact that he's naturally two-footed and he can play on either wing. It would suit us. I would like to see him there, and I would actually like to see Martial start on the right-hand side, not the left-hand side. And in terms of another position, I think it is the striker position. I mean, we've just talked about Zlatan coming back after Christmas. If that isn't the case, then we need to bring someone else in. And if we're not going to bring someone else in, then we're going to ask and expect some of our midfielders to contribute to more goals. And does that mean that some of the players that were on tour, like Pereira, will be included in the squad and get more first team opportunities? That's what I kind of think for me.
Tomer Free says, Mark, why are you not reading the fan questions? Pretty much been doing that the whole show, Tomer. Clear your ears out. And Chiro, that reminds me, drop a like on the video because Rodney's steering the show. Well, he's giving the answers tonight. So drop a like on the video.
Tonight, yeah.
Make sure you subscribe and share the video. We're close to 4,000 watching, which is great. Ciro Achilio, I hope I've got that right. He says, reports in Italy claiming Inter Milan will sell Candreva to Chelsea and keep Perisic. We were just talking about Perisic there, Rodney. I spoke about him before you came on. I don't want that to happen. It's been one of them deals all summer. I think he's a divider, but I've always been on the camp that I like him, and I don't think, for all the people who criticise him, my thing has always been he ticks so many boxes. He's so two-footed. This summer really isn't necessarily about the marquee signings like Pogba and Zlatan. This summer really, I think, is about Matic and Lindelof and Lukaku and hopefully Perisic. Players who, they're not the glamour, but they're like Valencias and Herreras. You need 7 or 8 of those, and then 2 or 3 stars. And I really hope we do get him, because I'd be very disappointed if we don't now, which for somebody who's been doubted by a lot of United fans is an oddity, but I would be disappointed.
I would. Then if we don't get Perisic, then we're scratching our heads as to who that would be. And I think I'm not sure if I put forward a tweet or a question about, if we don't get Perisic, are we then going to look at players in this country? I think I kind of jokingly said Mahrez, but I believe he's been linked to Roma. But there are talented wingers.
I like Nathan Redmond. I think you've mentioned him before, haven't you?
Honestly, I genuinely believe he will be snapped up by, if we don't look at him. Yeah, if it's Liverpool or Spurs, I can see him going on and having a great career, because he's a young player and he's an intelligent player. And what I like about Redmond, and even though he's not a United player, is when you look at him in terms of his development over a short period of time, and you contrast that with players like Theo Walcott and what's the other one that's at Arsenal? Chamberlain.
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Seriously, you look at him and you just think, you can see that you've learnt the game and you understand what it is in terms of wing play and positional sense. He had a very good game against us in the final, a very good game. And I was very impressed with him. And sometimes when you play against a player that gives you a difficult time, you almost think, that's what happened with Ronaldo when the friendly, and I think Ferdinand were like, we need this kid signed up for us, because he gave us like a torrid time and we can't have that happen again. And I think the same happened when Manchester United bought Andy Cole. I think it was Steve Bruce and Pallister went to Ferguson and said his movement terrorised them. Get him. So I don't see, if we don't get Perisic, we need to probably not look too far and start to look at what possible qualities there are in the English Premier League, and it may be Redmond as one, but not necessarily definite.
Good question here from Josh Nodland. I don't know whether you want to answer it, Rodney, but I'll just give my thought on it first. He says, Rodney, what are your views on Edison Cavani from PSG? I read a brilliant comment today on the video we did this morning about Aurier. And it was basically, somebody said, I've just been looking on YouTube at clips of Aurier. And similarly, when I've looked at clips of Verratti and Marquinhos and other PSG players this season, like Lucas Moura, all it ends up being is a compilation of Cavani missing sitters, which made me really laugh. It doesn't matter who you watch. You might be watching Aurier, but Cavani will definitely be in there missing a sitter. I don't rate Cavani. I never have. It's a running joke.
Right.
I don't rate him.
As we have our conversation, I'm making little notes, and I've just written Cavani equals busy. He's busy, but no end product sometimes, which, considering the chances that PSG create for him, he should be scoring 40 goals a season, really, because they say the French league isn't that good. I don't say it, but people say it. We were linked to him heavily at one point, and I just think, he's not. I think he's not lethal enough as a striker. So
Falcao's the one that got away. You know, I know Alex isn't on much anymore because he has to work on a Saturday night, but I remember us going up to Old Trafford in the early days of the United stand, and he had his Falcao top on, and he used to jinx every player that he'd got a top on. But Falcao, when we got him, I just thought, you know, he didn't, you know, even though he's doing okay at Monaco now, he's still not the player he was before that injury. And
yeah,
I was happy we got Falcao, and it was obviously a disaster, but that was the one that was the most disappointing. But I wouldn't go near Cavani. I've never been impressed by him.
To be honest, I was a bit upset that we let Falcao go, because I honestly thought that he came back too soon because of the World Cup. He was desperate to be part of the squad. You're right, he was never the same after that injury. But in terms of movement in front of goal and his finishing, he's superb. I would have an injured Falcao with one leg any day ahead of a Cavani.
Nearly 4,000 watching. 892 likes. It's Rodney's show tonight. So don't worry about you disliking me. It's Rodney's show. Drop him a like on the video. Let's get him to 1,000. Here's another good question for you, Rodney. It's from Ronaldo Sturkach, and he says, Rodney, don't you think Jose's built Martial into a defensive left midfielder? And I'm going to add a little bit onto the end of that. There's still rumours that Martial might get loaned out. I said this today on my lunch with some lad who's a United fan. I said we were getting linked to Gareth Bale, but what people forget is that Martial is potentially a better player than Bale. He is world-class potential, and I don't know. This is the big season for him, and I just hope Mourinho's. You know, Mourinho has it. Look, Mourinho's a fantastic manager, and he's the one I want at United. But my dad supports Chelsea. We all know Mourinho if you're old enough. I remember when he first burst on the scene, and the one thing he's stubborn. And I can be stubborn. I'm sure we all can be stubborn. But his statement back in August, he can't move away from it. I'm going to make you love Fellaini. That's why he kept playing him. When he makes a statement, he has to be right, which has its benefits, but it also has its flaws like that. And with Martial, I just hope he can move past what is an obvious thing that he doesn't really like. He didn't really like him last year, and I hope to God he can push past it, because I really believe Martial wants it and can be anything he wants.
I think Jose sees Martial as a world-class player. I think that he actually believes that he can go on to great things, but it's his application and willingness to track back. And I know what the question is, do you think he's making him into a defensive midfielder? If you play football, first job is to get the ball. You got to get the ball wherever you are in the pitch, whether you're left back, right back, centre midfield. Unless you've got the ball, you can't do anything. So that means you have to either track back and tackle, whether it's on the other side of the pitch or your side of the pitch. So when I hear that, certain footballers that say they don't want to track back and you're taking things away from their game, you remind me of the goal hangers we used to play with at school that didn't do anything and just waited. Football is a team sport. If you want to be an individual, play tennis or go and play snooker it's a team sport. Anyone that says, if I know that I've got to get the ball and I've made a mistake and I've got to pass it on to someone, that's what I've got to do. Martial needs to, and I'm not saying that he's not doing this, I'm making that very clear now. He needs to work on his own weaknesses. He's playing on the left and he's predominantly right-footed. What would make him a better player is that he then has the ability to go past players with left and right foot, pretty much like Perisic can do. Now, if he had... Martial is a better player than Perisic, but in terms of natural ability going left and right, Perisic is a naturally balanced footballer, whereas Martial isn't. And that's something that he can work on. If he works on that element, he will be devastating to watch. And he'd be devastating to play against. But it's down to him as an individual whether he wants to do that or not.
And I would just add into that as to how I would solve Martial. I'm a firm believer that just give him 10 games in a row in the Premier League, and he might have a couple of bad ones, but I think he gets pulled out of the team too quickly. Yeah, and I think Mourinho, if he wants to use him, do what he did with Lingard last year. Lingard was average a lot last year, but Mourinho stuck by him. Just give Martial that chance. Give him 10 games. If it doesn't work, I'd even sit here and say, look, he's had 10 games in a row in the Premier League and he's done nothing. I think that's what needs to happen. I hope he will do it. There's a good comment here, Rodney, about Redmond from Joe Stringer. He said Redmond isn't a top 6 club player, maybe a Liverpool player, which was quite clever and quite a good dig at Liverpool there.
Right. Can I respond to that? Yeah. He isn't a top 6 player at the moment. That's what I would say in defence of him. I would say that when we bought Michael Carrick from Spurs all those years ago, I didn't really want Michael Carrick at Manchester United because I thought he's just left a team who was relegated and he's gone to Spurs why would we buy him? He's not anything special. But he's been successful at Manchester United. It's something that I said a few weeks ago. Manchester United make players great. Players don't make us great. So it could be that there's a rough diamond that needs polishing. Pretty much like Martial. That's how I see. And I'm not a Southampton fan, but I'm just saying that on behalf of Redmond because I think he's got a lot of ability.
Anthony Martial's 21 is 22 in December. There was an interesting comment. Oh, I don't know what my computer's doing tonight. It's messing up.
My computer's doing crazy stuff as well. I think it's the Liverpool hex.
Yeah,
there must be a Liverpool hacker on the line.
So Gareth
Bale
nothing
else to do.
At 21. I just want to know what Gareth Bale was doing at 21.
Gareth Bale was probably on loan because I don't think even Harry Redknapp wanted him. I remember when he left Southampton, he couldn't get into the Spurs team at left back. He was not making first team, and I think he was injured as well.
Yeah, because somebody just said that, coming back about Martial's nowhere near as good as Bale. Bale was much better at that age. I think Martial's achieved far more than Gareth Bale did at 21 and a half. Obviously, Bale's kicked on in his mid-20s, but I think it was about 23 when he really started to get cooking. But he was a left-back as well, says Ryan Johnson.
He was.
Let's have a look, see if we can find another question. Mark won't be on here. Bardist has just joined. Please recap the main news. It always makes me laugh when people join late because you can actually still go back and watch the start and just be behind. Here we go. If you had to choose between who will become the better player, Rashford or Martial, that's from Rush Spirits.
Say again, Martial or Rashford?
Who will have the better career? Who will be the better player?
That's if I could tell who that would be, I'd go and buy the lottery tickets now. I think I would say Rashford. I think Rashford is.
Well, he applies himself, doesn't he? He actually does apply himself.
Yeah, I think Rashford is actually someone who goes away and he probably looks at his game more and realises that he's got to kind of develop in terms of his finishing. And that's the thing about Martial. He literally has all of the technical abilities that you need. He just needs one little thing, and I think he will be truly world class. Truly, because he's devastating going past people. It's ridiculous.
I've got a good couple of questions coming up. Gungshi, first of all, says, how do you rate Mark's singing? I don't know whether you've ever heard it. I don't know whether you watched it.
I like it in the morning. It makes me laugh.
It's a divider, I would say that. Some people threaten to unsubscribe and all sorts. But, it's down to popular opinion. Some people quite like it. And also, I had a bit of stick for... I don't know, have you seen much of Scott McTominay? What are your thoughts on him?
Scott McTominay, if we can get Usain Bolt when he's finished his athletics stint on Friday or Saturday, if he can be the new sprint coach at Old Trafford, he'd be warmly welcomed. We've got quite a few 6 foot plus slow midfielders and they need help. So that's all I'm going to say about Mr. McTominay.
You got to be very careful when you're talking about the youth players, as I found on Sunday. All I'll say is I'm willing.
You have all the ability, but you need to be quick.
Yeah, I'm a bit more damning than that. But what I would say is, I'll happily put a tenner on with absolutely everybody on this show tonight and say I guarantee you he will not be playing for Manchester United in 5 years' time. and at best he'll be a Championship player. But that apparently that makes you being negative, but it's not. It's just, you know, Manchester United's what my love is and my focus is, and I've seen too many players be shoehorned into United just because they come through the youth setup. You could argue we've got one at the moment who's 25 this year, but I think he's a decent squad player, Lingard. But I have seen players just because they're part of the youth sort of get shoehorned in, and it doesn't, you know, we've got enough young players at Manchester United, and I think we said this last week. It's 25 years since we actually had a group of young players, or even a young player who was genuinely top class in the game of football. We've had a few since. We've had Fletcher was good. O'Shea was a great squad player. Welbeck nearly. But 25 years since the class of 92.
Go on. Since that class of 92, I would probably say if people actually thought back, Wes Brown was a better defender than people gave him credit for. When you think about Smalling and Jones right now.
Yeah, I always liked Wes Brown. He did used to pick up a lot of injuries, but I did like Wes Brown.
Yeah, he was a good player, I thought, but never really as praised as he should have been.
But where I was going with it is, it's 25 years since we had genuine top class. I think Fletcher was good as well, but 25 years, it's been slim pickings. We're now in a position where you've got Rashford, Pereira, Fosu Mensah, potentially Twansibi. That's 4 players that I would argue are, you know, on a different level. We don't need to be starting to think about people like McTominay. He may stun me. He may go on to a massive steep upward curve, but I don't think so. I don't think he'll be anywhere near the first team. But who am I to say that? But that brings me nicely on to what I was talking about a little bit over the last few days, and I don't really know where everyone is on this, but I don't see Fosu Mensah getting a lot of first team football this season. I would love him to go on loan to a Premier League club, and let's see what he's all about. I don't know what you're thinking about our youth. You know, Rashford's obviously going to play, but Twansibi, Fosu Mensah, Pereira. You know,
yeah, I'm hoping with Pereira that he's done enough and he's displayed enough on the tour that he's part of the squad. I think definitely. I think for Twansibi, I think because we haven't seen so much of him, I'm not sure whether or not Mourinho is probably held him back because he doesn't want people to see too much of him, and he'll be a pivotal part in the team, or again he might go out on loan. I think for Fosu Mensah, I think he could be either a centre back or a centre midfield, but he needs to learn that position. He needs to learn that position, and depending on if we get Aurier, who is a right back, if he comes in, it would be good for Fosu Mensah to go on loan to a Bournemouth or a Watford, and play a season down there where he'll learn the game, and hopefully play in the position that he wants to develop in. And this is the thing, when you've got all of these young players and they're part of a squad, are they bold enough to say, I want to play in that position? That's the position I want to play in. It's okay being part of the squad. Are they bold enough to say, no, I am a centre-back. No, I am a centre midfield. No, I am an attacking midfielder. As much as I, will do a job for the squad, are they bold enough to go and speak to the manager and say, that's the position that I really want to be in and I'm going to work on that? And if that's the case, then maybe going to play, a season or a half a season in another team, it will be good for him, because sitting on the bench won't help him. It won't help him. It will just hinder him. And we've seen too many young players get stifled in terms of their development, and it's really good to see players come on. If Fosu Mensah was in France, we'd want to buy him for 50 million.
Yeah. Well, I said this at the weekend. I said, look, for all these people who want us to sign players, and I do think we need to sign at least one more player, if we all knew about Pereira and Fosu Mensah, but they just weren't United players, and we'd signed them this summer, we'd be absolutely ecstatic. I think they are fantastic players, but I don't see Fosu Mensah getting much time this year, and he would probably benefit from what Pereira did last year, which is first team football in a demanding league, preferably the Premier League.
Well, I mean, even this. Imagine if we are in for Aurier and we say to PSG, we've got a young man who wants to get some first team football. Could you accommodate? Would they be up for that? Because they're linked to so many. Well, they're linked to one particular player who's going to cost an astronomical amount. They're going to have to offload so many of their current midfield to bring him in. So, if we could send a player on loan to them, it might be beneficial to them and help a deal come or help a player come our way. So,
this is a good question from VK Dean, and it had me thinking. He says, honest question, is Jose Mourinho capable of managing the prospects like Pereira? Because all his previous evidence points to the contrary, and it got me thinking. I can't think of a young player that's been ready in a Mourinho side that he's brought in, nurtured and produced. I know he has played young players in the past, but I can't think of one that's come into the team, which is what Pereira should be doing this year, and become part of his team, and then become a consistent performer in his team. I think he's got to do it, but it's going to be interesting to see how he manages it.
I think for part of the Manchester United history, it's something that we always talk about as fans, that the young players coming through. Real Madrid don't have that. You know, there's only a couple that are coming through now. He managed Inter Milan. They don't have that. You know, a lot of the players that he managed there, he were either long established and he brought in. And I don't know enough about Porto when he won the Champions League there in terms of the players that he had. And that's for Chelsea. I mean, they have so many good young youth players that I don't think he was allowed to bring in youth players because of the demands at Chelsea. That's not Chelsea's ethos, and we've seen with their current manager that, you know, at least 3 or 4 of their good young players have decided to go on, and one's gone to Watford. So I think Mourinho has the skill set. I think if players are willing to listen to him and understand what he wants and learn, then I think they've got every possibility of being part of the team. But it's not just down to him. It's about a player's willingness to improve. It's not just about the manager. You have to show that you're ready.
Piash Azam says Kurt Zouma and Rafael Varane. Well, he bought Varane, although he was young. He didn't buy Varane. Zouma, but I don't really know enough about how often he played him. Fortune is still Fortune Chiburi's still at it with his Fabinho, his quality, Matic, his crap. I think you've got to get behind him now. And Kieran
I see Fabinho staying at Monaco. Actually,
you what?
I see Fabinho staying at Monaco.
You can't.
You can't. You don't think he'll stay there?
No, I think he will. Is that what you said?
I think he'll stay there. Yeah, I think he'll stay. I don't think he'll leave. I think he won't go anywhere. I think he'll be still in France.
The interesting thing I would say about Fabinho is that the big disappointment for me is I did want us to sign him, but the disappointment that I got was when Di Marzio said we'd bid for him on the Friday night about 6 weeks ago, and that really got me thinking. And I think Di Marzio's been poor this summer, and you know, there's no reason he should be a great Manchester United source, but he has been for 2 years. And I think he's been poor this year, and I know people are going to jump on and say he did say Matic, but he wasn't. You know, I was saying Matic before him. I think Matic was pretty obvious, and a lot of other outlets were saying Matic before him. He's not been on the ball at all with United this summer. Whether he's, you know, how it's tough when you're a journalist to stay at the top. But Fabinho, I think he probably will stay at Monaco. I would like to sign him, but you know that ship sailed. We've got to crack on with what we got.
Along with Griezmann, he's in the same ship as Griezmann, different cabin though.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Rodney. It's 9 o'clock, so we'll wrap it up there.
Oh well, yes.
But we've got the watch along tomorrow night. If anyone's never watched the watch along, I'm sure you have. We'll be live from 7:15 with the team news because it's a 7:45 kickoff, I think. So live at 7:15, right the way through till full time. Be interesting. The United's last proper pre-season game. Hopefully, we'll see another step forward. Interested to see what the formation will be. Don't know a lot about Sampdoria. I do watch a lot of Serie A, but Sampdoria are a very different team to what they were when I used to watch it in the 90s. So it'd be interesting. And I don't know how far along they are, because I know Serie A kicks off later. So they'll be a couple of weeks behind us with fitness anyway, but I don't know whether it's their first pre-season or they've played a couple more. So that I need to research. But and then a weekend off, and then it's Super Cup next Tuesday night, and then West Ham on the Sunday. So it's coming thick and fast now. We'll start picking that up next Tuesday, Rodney, about what you think about the season ahead. But shout out your Twitter, pal.
All right, Twitter is at Rodney_Cyrus with a C.
And James Howell has just made a super chat contribution, so thank you, James. He says, are any under 23 or under 21s that could make a breakthrough to play well enough to make the bench, even be good enough to play, even be good enough player to play in a match this year? Under 23s or under 21s? Well, I don't know. I mean, Roshan Williams, I don't know what's going on with him. He was always mentioned in the same breath as Twansibi as a centre back. So again, you know, we are blessed with young talent. Gomez has already made his debut. Will he come in again? And he's very young. Tahith Chong, will he recover from his injury and get back in? We have got a lot of young players, but as I said, we're greedy just to be talking about Fosu Mensah, Twansibi, Rashford and Pereira. You know, we haven't had that for 25 years. So to talk about more is greedy, but the more the better. And we've bought, as I said last night, we have bought so many young players around 15, 16, 17 over the last 2 years that you know, I think that's the way United are going. I don't think we want to do big transfer fees anymore. And you know, you look at the potential corruption around Neymar. For people who don't know that, it's only a rumour that the Qatari World Cup are actually paying him 300 million. So he's going to pay Barcelona off, pocket 80 million, and then PSG are getting him for free. I mean, that's football for you. This is what happens when money gets involved in football and corrupt countries want to have their piece of the pie. But that's another show in itself.
For the love of the game. Yeah, I know, that is another show. For the love of the game, eh?
Thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed it tonight. It's been nice to chuck most of the questions straight at Rodney and read and interact with the live comments. If you've not dropped a like, please do drop a like on the video. If you are new, subscribe, bottom right hand corner. We're live every night at 8 o'clock. We've got the watch along tomorrow. There's a transfer show every morning. We're fast approaching the new season. Yeah, really looking forward to it. And you can catch Rodney on the show with me every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. So thanks, Rodney, for coming on. And thanks, everyone, for watching.
No worries. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.